These are photos of some of the most common fish groups that you would most likely find in your local supermarket. There's a problem with this. If you live in New England, many of these fish are not locally sourced. To keep up with the demand for our favorite fish, the NOAA estimates we import 70 to 85% of the seafood we eat while neglecting many local, more sustainable species.
If I go to the supermarket and I want to get bay scallops, those bay scallops that come from, say, Cape Cod are going to be very expensive, but I can get Chinese aquaculture bay scallop, and the cost of those is going to be much less, and that's primarily what is at your market.
This is Professor Sima Eben with the University of Connecticut. She is a research coordinator with the Connecticut Sea Grant and a board member of Eating with the Ecosystem.
And the cost of those is going to be much less, but it's not taking into account really the impacts of the transportation of those scallops, the production costs, any kind of externalized pollution associated with that production. And so those costs are really lost from the equation. When you are shopping for a price, that the cheapest product may actually mask among those externalities, destructive fishing practices, or the fact that, that fleet has already extirpated its local coastal stocks and has now moved offshore. The fisheries management of U.S. stocks is pretty good, and I'm not sure that level, that high standard is replicated in other countries' fisheries. If you are buying imported fish, then you're less apt to care about the habitats and the ecosystems that are producing your own local fish. And so if we're getting oysters from somewhere far away, then we're not going to care for the little estuary that we live in that has maybe its own population of oysters. So the fishermen, again, depending on their gear, are catching certain fish. And then you have this bottleneck where the market is saying, well, we like white fish like haddock or cod or shrimp or salmon or lobster. But the fact is that they're catching many more species. There's a much higher diversity. So the idea is to align what the market is going to be able to provide to the consumer, and have the consumer appreciate, buy, and be able to cook that, and also have the market be able to adapt to what may be changing at the fisherman's end.
I'm Kate Masery. I'm the Executive Director of Eating with the Ecosystem, and we're a small nonprofit that is based in Rhode Island, but we do work all around New England to promote what we call a place-based approach to sustaining New England's wild seafood. So a lot of times when we talk about sustainability in seafood, we talk about individual fish or shellfish being sustainable or not sustainable. And for us at Eating with the Ecosystem, all of the local fish and shellfish can be sustainable parts of a local seafood diet, and they're sustainable in their own rights in terms of just being fish and shellfish, but it's really our interactions with those species as humans, whether it's eating them or harvesting them or just our interactions on land potentially impacting them, that are sustainable or not sustainable. And so a place-based approach is looking at a place, an ecosystem, a community, and looking at the people that are part of it, but also the ecological part, like the world that's part of it, the marine world that's part of it, all the fish and shellfish, and what's sustainable for that kind of entire community, not just individual fish or shellfish being sustainable or not. Part of that also, the idea with Eating with the Ecosystem is that you don't just eat one or two local seafood species and be like, okay, this species is really abundant and therefore it's a great choice. And it's like, yes, we should be eating those abundant species, but there's more that goes into it. If all we did as consumers is eat one local seafood species, that's not necessarily the most sustainable choice, because there's all these other species that we're ignoring. Our work encompasses a couple different parts. We do a lot of education and outreach with consumers, but also with chefs, with seafood businesses, teaching people about kind of what's local and why it's important to eat a variety of different local seafood species, and providing them with the information and the resources that they need to actually utilize those species within within their own homes or within their businesses. What does it taste like? What's the texture like? That kind of information. And then we also do a lot of research, so we'll partner with different research institutions, and they'll do some economic analysis or ecological analysis, and then we'll bring in the market component side of things. And so we'll look at the availability of New England seafood in the marketplace, or we're currently working on a project that is looking at how New England seafood supply chains might incorporate shifts in species distribution due to climate change into their business models. And so that type of project is something that we focus on as well. And then we also work on increasing just access to local seafood within the region. And so we've been working with the Rhode Island Food Policy Council and the Commercial Fisheries Center of Rhode Island, as well as a number of different partners on the community level to increase access to local seafood within the emergency food system. And so we've worked to get local seafood into the food bank. We also have started a seafood donation program within Rhode Island that is donating fresh, mostly whole seafood directly to communities in need. There's over 100 different species that are landed here in New England that we could be eating. And so what we encourage eaters to do is go to their local fish market and ask for some of those species that are really abundant in the local ecosystems, are caught by our local fisheries, but are maybe not served as frequently kind of on menus at home. So we have a bunch of programs for the home cook that is geared towards being able to cook local seafood at home and feel comfortable doing that. And so we run cooking classes. We've done both in-person classes as well as virtual classes where you can actually join us. They're called our Cook a Fish, Give a Fish classes, and you can join from your own home kitchen. And we bring in a chef who's typically cooking in their restaurant kitchen, and we'll focus on different local seafood species, everything from black sea bass to monkfish to skate, and basically we'll come up with a recipe ahead of time with the chef, and we'll send you out a list of ingredients and the tools that you'll need, and then you get to cook along with the chef and ask questions and show them the fish that you are working on or the dish that you helped create. And so it's a really fun way to learn about cooking local seafood and learn about different species. So one way for people to get involved in Eating with the Ecosystem is, one is to just follow us on social media or sign up for our newsletter on our website. I think that's a really great easy step to stay up to date on what we're doing and see when there's events that are happening. We love if people come and actually attend one of our cooking classes or one of the dinners that we put on, or participate in a research project with us. So that's another great way to get involved with the organization. And then we, of course, as a nonprofit, definitely rely on, we write a lot of grants, but we very much rely on the support of people in the public and donations. And so that's one really great way to support the organization, is to donate to it. And then we always need volunteers, whether you're a really talented photographer and you want to take some cool fish photos for us, or maybe you're a data nerd and are willing to go through some Excel spreadsheets with data with us, or you want to come help out at one of our events and share some recipes and hand out some information. We're always looking for volunteers to kind of help out with the organization as well. As a small organization, more hands kind of make light work. So looking into the future, Eating with the Ecosystem definitely would love to grow a little bit. We're a really small organization, and I think in order to continue to do the work that we see that needs to be done, we definitely need to kind of bring on more people and be able to expand that much more and reach a wider audience. One thing that we've done a lot of that I'm really proud of is we've worked with a wide variety of different people, but they tend to be mostly adults, and we are starting to work with younger audiences, and I think that's something that I want to continue to see us do as an organization, is work with these younger audiences, because I think the younger that you're introduced to local seafood and the concepts of sustainability, the more that you're gonna then carry that on kind of into your life as you get older. I grew up eating seafood, and I think that that's a big reason why I continue to eat seafood now and do what I do, and so I want other people to have that opportunity as well.